Hei, og velkommen til vForums andre sesjon. I dag handler det om moderne applikasjoner, og hvordan VMware kan hjelpe deg med å strømlinjeforme veien til produksjon med Tanzu-porteføljen. Jeg heter Steffen Moen, og jobber som løsningsarkitekt på noen av våre største kunder i Norge. Og jeg har også med meg en av mine kolleger, Eirik, som kan få lov å introdusere seg selv.
Hallo alle sammen, mitt navn er Eirik Vada. Jeg jobber også som løsningsarkitekt i VMware. Som alle andre eventer i år, så har også vForum funnet det virtuelle formatet, og selv om vi ikke kan møtes fysisk, så håper vi at dagens agenda kan gi dere litt rom for læring og litt innsikt i hva vi i VMware fokuserer på fremover. I forrige uke så hadde vi vårt første vForum-event, hvor temaet var multicloud, og på torsdag så kommer event nummer 3. Der blir temaet SASE, som er da et fokus på cloud i nettverk og sikkerhet i sky, koblet mot sluttbruker. Men i dag så er altså temaet Tanzu, og hvordan vi ønsker å strømlinjeforme veien fra kode til produksjon. Så Steffen, kan ikke du gå litt gjennom den overordnede agendaen og QA-funksjonen i Zoom?
Jo, vi har en ganske pakket agenda i dag, hvor Per og Henrik er først ut. De vil gi en generell introduksjon til VMware sin relevans i en verden hvor applikasjon og utviklingen av disse står i første rekke. Deretter så vil Neven ta over, og han vil gå da mer i dybden og vise dere også noen smakebiter fra de ulike verktøyene vi kan tilby. Som Eirik nevnte, har vi en QA-funksjon i denne plattformen, og vi anbefaler dere å benytte den underveis, for vi har satt av et kvarter på slutten, hvor vi vil forsøke å svare på de spørsmålene som dere har stilt.
Yes, som Steffen sa, vi har nok vi skal gjennom, så jeg tenker vi går i gang med første videoen allerede nå, og da ønsker jeg å introdusere Per Gustafsson og Henrik Tranæs, så go ahead.
Hello and welcome to vForum Online 2021. I'm Per Gustafsson. I'm the Regional Director for VMware in the Nordics and the Baltics, and we are here to speak about modern application. With me, I have my colleague Henrik. Why don't you introduce yourself, Henrik?
Thanks, Per. So my name is Henrik Tranæs, and I've been running the sales for Tanzu in the Nordics for the last 3 years.
Great. Yeah, application is a space that we are investing in heavily. We have acquired Pivotal, we have acquired Heptio, we have built out our capabilities to be able to manage and build application across clouds and support our customer in this ongoing transformation. And the transformation has the application at heart. It's been ongoing for quite some while, but the pandemic has definitely put new demands and expectations on organization to develop and modernize their applications. We've done some studies. Henrik, you've spoken to a lot of customers. What's the findings?
Thanks, Per. So some of the findings we have from is actually from a Forrester study we conducted with a number of CEOs in 2020. And we wanted to understand, what their priorities is. And one of the top priorities for them is actually to improving the application portfolio. About 80% says that we need to do something about it, or we're already doing something about it. However, the finding also showed that about half are not there, or they're not making progress with the modernization. And some of the reasons for that is actually it's quite difficult to modernize your applications. It's easy to do lift and shift somewhat, but it's difficult to understand your own application estate within your company, within all the teams and all the business units. And what we've seen in VMware also is that we need to kind of map out and understand how the applications are fitted together and how they are actually acting on various infrastructures. Also, we've been looking at specifically why are customers then, modernizing their applications. What's the business outcome, right? So one of the key outcomes, of course, is to deliver new experiences for their customers. So that either be in a production line improvement, going from VMs to containers, moving from one developer framework to another, but also specifically just to work with the competition in modernizing applications, right? So you are now competing with as an incumbent with the startups in your business, and they're using cloud native technology and modern applications, and those you need to do so also. So it could be that your web shop is built on internet information servers, and now you need to move to Kubernetes to scale up or scale down. Secondly, We are also trying to manage a growing number of vulnerabilities, both in the old software and also in the new software stack. So that's also a drive sometimes to modernize your applications. But Per, you know, you're the director in VMware, and you're working with our customers across the Nordic region. How do you experience this application modernization, and what are the talks that you're having with your customers?
Well, I would say it's about taking decisions, categorizing your application and decide what to do with them. You know, which one should be retired, which one should be, you know, newly developed, which one should be retained and optimized, which one should be rehosted and migrated maybe to more of a cloud operating model. So there's a lot of decision that is needed to make. And I think that's mostly what I'm involved in, you know, understanding the strategy regarding the application portfolio and how we can support them. But why don't you go into a little bit more in detail, Henrik, how we support our customer in this journey?
Thanks, Per. Yeah, so as this slide shows, you know, we need to address both the applications and the infrastructure. So at VMware, you know, today we're actually working with our customers in modernize the application estate. We are using our experts in driving a number of modernization efforts for the application estate. We are using interview-based business outcomes discussions. We're using application navigators to see how cloud ready the customer's application is, if they need to move from one framework to another, from one infrastructure to another. At the same time, you know, with our knowledge in Kubernetes, our knowledge in virtualization, we're also helping customers modernize the infrastructure to run containers, to run Kubernetes, and also to run the new developer toolings that we're going to see a little more in the demo in the other session. So all in all, at VMware, we're addressing both things in order for customers to be successful. And, you know, the market is telling us also, right? So the latest report from IDC around the market share of the container software is actually giving us a strong first place here. So it's good to see that the efforts we have been working on over the last years is starting to bear fruit, and that we're actually helping our customers in this journey, both in building stacks of container management systems, but also modernizing the application landscape.
Great, thank you so much, Henrik. And more detail and more conversation about this will be possible in the deeper session, where we'll go through everything in more detail. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoy vForum 2021. Goodbye.
Ja, da har vi hørt kort fra Per og Henrik, så nå tenkte vi at vi skulle dykke litt mer ned i materien. Så derfor skal dere få en teknisk gjennomgang av Neven Cvetkovic. So go ahead, Neven.
Hello, welcome to Streamlining Path to Production with VMware Tanzu session today. My name is Neven Cvetkovic, and I'm from the Tanzu Solution Engineering team covering Benelux and Nordics. So in today's session, we'll look at the path to production and what does it mean to streamline a path to production or streamline something. Well, to streamline something is to make a system or an organization a bit more efficient, more effective by employing faster or simpler working methods. So what are some of the keywords that we heard? More efficient, more effective, more consistent, more scalable, simpler, faster, more affordable, more secure. So what is the modern path to production and why is it important? Well, we start off with design and ideas, something that product owners, agile product owners and developers will work on and develop into a product, some feature that will be used by the end users, consumers in the form of a UI, some kind of experience that the users will use, and hopefully provide feedback back to product owners and developers so that the most important features get prioritized and get to the market faster. So why is it streamlining the path to production important? Well, let's zoom out. The applications that we are bringing to the market, there needs to be a better way, more efficient way, more effective way a more consistent way, more automated way that's scalable, simpler, faster, a bit more affordable. It affects our budgets, and while not compromising on the security. So how do we do that? What does the modern path to production look like? Let's take a look. Whoa, that's a busy slide. Let's digest this a bit by bit. Okay, so where do we start? Modern applications eventually need to be containerized for enabling the automation and resource optimization. When you think about that simple fact of containerizing application, it's not a big deal. Anyone can do it. You have Docker file, they run image locally, that's great. But in the enterprise context, you have to be in compliance with security standards, policies, so it is a big deal. So how are we going to make sure that certain image created by someone individually is actually protected, secured, and can be safely deployed into production? That can be time consuming. So the Tanzu framework brings you a bunch of these capabilities to help you benefit from this technology and being able to have a consistent production pipeline. So let's take a look. So first, we ensure that the developers have access to a modern framework that will help them to build modern architectures, microservices, data pipelines, distributed systems, and so on. I'm specifically talking about the Spring framework, which is being used by more than 5 million developers around the globe. Spring is the #1 framework for Java. More than 60% of Java developers use Spring as their primary framework. It's a most loved framework on Stack Overflow. What it does, it allows us to do microservices, reactive, cloud, web apps, serverless, event-driven, batch type of applications. There is about 15 million projects that generated on start.spring.io in 2019 alone, and we are still compiling the 2020 numbers. So let's take a look. Start.spring.io. It's essentially a web application that helps us initialize and bootstrap the Spring projects. We start off with the very simple demo app. We can add some dependencies like, let's say, some actuator endpoints, some database drivers, maybe some other components. And what we do, we can actually explore the skeleton of the app that is being made. We can download it as a zip and import in any of your favorite integrated development environments. Similarly, we do offer the .NET. There is a .NET support for .NET developers with a Steeltoe framework. In a similar manner, there is a Steeltoe initializer that can offer some of those things for the .NET developers as well. Okay, once the coding is done and it is ready for the to be containerized, that's where the automation starts. It's something that we call continuous integration. We do understand that packaging an application is maybe not a job for a developer, as this reduces developer productivity and adds risk to your operations. That's why with Tanzu, we offer automated container packaging engine. That's something that's called Tanzu Build Service that validates the image. It allows you for reproducible builds, easy patching, and it's totally secure. That way, developers, they don't need to be worried about the building images because you have a more standard reproducible way across the entire organization when it comes to application containerization. So let's take a look at the application real quick. So this is a Spring Pet Clinic application. We can click around. It's a typical app that has a backend database. We can also see a code base for it. We're hosting this on GitHub. It could be anywhere. And we use for continuous integration, we use a tool that's called Concourse, but it could be any of your existing continuous integration tools, such as Jenkins, Azure DevOps, or some other tools that you already have, either SaaS or on-premise tools. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the application real quick. We're going to kick off the change. Let's take a look. Main. Let's look at the resources. Maybe there is a messages, and let's take a look at the message. So let's change something to edit, and let's say hey, and updating. So we have made a change. We'll try to change this welcome message to something that's called hey, and let's see if how that goes. While we are waiting for the changes to be picked up, let's take a look at the previous build and what happens. So we can see we're getting source code, we're doing some compilation, it's a Maven, so it's downloading some of the jars, dependencies from the Maven repository. So this is a local artifactory tools. So we're compiling, we are testing, we're doing some initial unit testing, unit tests, and then finally we are updating the build service image. So we are using the build service that is hosted in our environment. That is essentially building the image from the given jar files. We can see that we are using some of the best practices, Java best practices, how to build, how to layer the image, and how to do that. So we can see that the source code has started, the continuous integration has started, and later on we will see we're using also Concourse for the continuous deployment part, but that's coming up later. Okay, at this point now we have a packaged application, packaged as a container, and the next step is to put all these images into an internal image registry. In our case, we're going to use Harbor, but it could be any of the other public offerings, such as Docker Hub or any of the public clouds or any other offerings that you have. Hopefully that container image registry does have a role-based access controls with some automated image scanning and signing. So let's take a look at Harbor. So we log in first. Harbor is the on-prem solution hosted. You can host it in your own environment. It's an open source project, and it is part of the Tanzu line of products. So let's take a look at our project. We have 2 container images. Let's take a look at Spring Pet Clinic. We have built already. We kicked off the build, remember, just moments ago, and we see that there is a build 1, build 2, build 3 with some number of vulnerabilities. We can see there is a fair amount of vulnerabilities, some of them high, some of them medium. If we expand, we can see that this specific one is the heap buffer overflow in free type in Google Chrome. We can see a bit more details for more information and if it is relevant for us. Great, so that was that. We can also take a look at the specific configuration of this repository. We can prevent vulnerable images from running if the severity is more than, let's say, critical or high. There is a number of scanners that we can employ, define some properties, members. Also, Harbor is also a repository for Helm charts that you can use in your environments. There's a number of different services that we can integrate, such as Claire. That's another image scanning. We have a notary as part of our signing authority for the container images. And things like that. Okay, the other aspect of the application development is the possible requirement for backing systems such as databases, messaging queues, some analytic modules, things like that. When it comes to leveraging things like Kafka or let's say Redis, you can definitely go to public repository and grab your ready-made images or Helm charts. Although that will take time and potentially introduce a risk if you don't know the provenance of that code. With Tanzu, you're going to have access to a catalog of the most used images in a self-service way, all customized specific to your organization based on your golden images secured in your private repository. So let's take a look at our application. Our application is leveraging the backend database, Pet Clinic database, that's based on MySQL. We can see the details of that app real quick. We can see some installation things. Let's take a look at the catalog of available things. So we can look at databases, for example. We can look at another MySQL database. We can see it's a Helm chart. We can customize the chart. So let's try to deploy this one real quick. We can see the YAML. We can customize that. And what's important is that we can see that this has been built by a Bitnami team, our Tanzu application catalog team, that's been doing this for probably over 10 years, that they have experience building third-party software, securing it, using the best practices. And there is something specific that I'm looking at. I'm trying to find, yes, there is liveness probes that we set up. We are using security context. I'm trying to find it here in the application real quick. Essentially employing the best practices, Kubernetes best practices, how to run these applications when it comes to open source software. We've seen the recent exploits in the essentially poisoning of your third-party supply chain, software supply chain with SolarWinds. So it's very, very important that your organization trusts the third-party software and that you have a way to do that effectively. And that's what Tanzu application catalog is. We can take a look at the specifics. So we can look at the Tanzu application catalog, which is the SaaS offering that helps you pick and choose things that you want to have in your environment. So we have containers and the Helm charts across the board. So, hey, there is Kafka. There is a number of things that you can add to this, possibly Jenkins, Consul, things like that. So the next step in the path to production lifecycle is the continuous delivery, CD, similar to continuous deployment of these images into our Kubernetes environment. These images have been built by, we've seen by the build service without automated container packaging, or possibly coming from a validated catalog of third-party runtimes and images through Bitnami, through our Tanzu application catalog. Great. So what is this Kubernetes environment? Well, Tanzu offers Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, which is our enterprise-ready Kubernetes runtime. It's a multi-cloud, so a single distribution that runs in your existing vSphere infrastructure. It runs on public clouds and at the edge environments. This Kubernetes environment is open source aligned. There's a lot of open source projects as part of it. So it is an upstream Kubernetes with lifecycle management through cluster API, ingress controllers such as Contour, networking provided by container networking with Antrea, backup with Alero, Octane, Sonoboy, just to name a few. So Tanzu Kubernetes Grid makes it a bit easier to run Kubernetes across the multiple clouds with a focus on simplified installation, automated multi-cluster operations, and integrated platform services. Also worthwhile mentioning, VMware is a top contributor to Kubernetes. I believe over last 12 months in 2020, it's been number 2 overall contributor to Kubernetes project. So let's take a look at our application real quick. So our application is has been deployed. We can see the message has changed. We are using the also Concourse as our continuous deployment platform, but it could be any of your existing tools, either on-prem or some of the SaaS offerings, such as Jenkins. Argo CD is a very popular one that I've seen around. Great. So let's take a look at the vSphere environment real quick. So this is a vSphere environment, vSphere 7. Kubernetes does come as a embedded workload management inside vSphere hypervisor. So I have a tenant here. I do have one cluster with one master node and two worker nodes. So let's actually take a look how we can add more components. So let's say kubectl get Tanzu clusters. Let's see existing clusters. We should have one. Yes, we have cluster 1. Let's create another one. So let's do a cluster 2 YAML file. So we're using YAML file to create the cluster, cluster 2. With a tenant 1 namespace. It's a version 17. It could be any version. I think cluster 1 was 18. So we could possibly upgrade it later on. I'm just creating a very simple cluster with one master node and one worker node. Great. So how do I do that? Well, very simple. kubectl apply -f cluster 2 YAML, and that should kick off our so it's been created. Well, it's not created yet. It's been posted to create. So the controllers will start working. If we do take a look, we'll see that tenant 1 started creating new cluster 2. It started creating a master node and the cluster. So that's great. But that's not enough. So with this, we're going to have probably a number of different environments, right? So as we go down this path, you'll see a number of containers and clusters that grow exponentially in your enterprise. And the operations team will need to have a way to manage the footprint at this scale. So how do we do that? Well, with Tanzu, you'll have a global control plane from where you can manage any conformant Kubernetes cluster. So that would be your Tanzu Kubernetes grid clusters, but also any other conformant clusters such as GKE, EKS, AKS, OpenShift, and so on. So this tool is called VMware Tanzu Mission Control, or TMC for short. It is a centralized management platform that we use to operate and secure our Kubernetes infrastructure, modern applications across the teams and clouds. So what it does, it provides operators, with a single control point to give your developers the independence that they need to drive the business forward, while enabling them with a consistent management and operations across these environments, with an increased security posture and the governance model. So with this TMC, developers will be enabled with a self-service, so they can create their own environments. We'll see that in a second. So TMC is a SaaS offering, but it's perfectly secure. So let's take a look. So in addition of TMC, it does allow you to strengthen the security over our containers applications. We'll see how easy it is to manage the security and compliance across your entire Kubernetes footprint in your enterprise. So we'll look at the policy and individual clusters, creation of the namespaces, workspaces, and things like that. So let's take a look. So here's environment. It's a Tanzu Mission Control. It's a multi-tenant environment, of course. I have my organization. In my organization, I do have a cluster groups. This is an end-to-end cluster group. I have a number of clusters that are attached to this. PES tools, PES management, some OpenShift clusters, some Azure, some Amazon clusters, and so on and so on. So let's take a look at the PES tools cluster real quick. We can see the nodes, the namespaces. We can look at the workspaces, workloads. We can hide the Tanzu workloads and system workloads and really focus on the specifics workloads that are available. So yes, I see Harbor deployed as an environment. Oh, there is my environment 399. So I can see the actual workload and how it was deployed. Great. What else? We can look at the policies, different templates. Also, what's quite useful are the insights, policies insights. So you can define the policies and you can still not enforce them, but still see who's which one of the workloads is infracting on your policies, breaking your policies, and so we can follow up with these teams and make our policies even better. Also, what's really interesting are the inspections for your governance. So we can see different results of the inspections. This is a light inspection. I can see the result. Yes, it was conformant, but we can see that some of the previous full-fledged conformance inspection did not work as well. So there is 7 failed things, conformance tests that are not running. Okay. Tanzu offers a very special kind of observability that does enable developers with the visibility into how applications behave in production or testing or different environments. So we can make the updates and iterate on the approach. You might already have some observability tooling. A lot of customers use Prometheus, Grafana, things like that. But we're talking about the deeper observability and to really look at the visibility across the applications, across the clusters, and it is based on the open standards. So what it does, it allows operators to analyze the entire infrastructure with the health and performance, so we can troubleshoot this rapidly. It does offer DevOps and SREs, a full stack observability, so we can ensure that the efficient operation of the life cycle. Tanzu observability, also known as Wavefront, is being used by some of the largest and most complex enterprises as a source of truth for all the stakeholders across the organizations. So let's take a look. So here's an example. Also, it's a SaaS offering. So it's a Wavefront Tanzu observability by VMware. Here is my application. If I do click on my application a bit more quicker, find owner, there we go, some error pages, something did happen. If I do look at things, I'm going to see that things are progressing rapidly. So I can see that I have 110 failed requests, 20% errors. I can see the request latency. I can see JVM, how the JVM behaves from number of my JVMs, my number of my containers and pods, the memory usage, and so on. So also, not only that, we can also see our different clusters. So we can see clusters. So it's an end-to-end visibility and observability from the infrastructure all the way up to the application. Okay, and when it comes to networking capabilities, this is an area of unique strength for VMware. We have several container networking that is open source aligned. So we start with Antrea, which is a pod and container networking, Ingress controller with our Project Hunter, Service Match with Open vSwitch, and so on and so on. Our approach to networking spans across the VMs and containers, on-prem and in public clouds. So you have a single mesh across your different environments. So what is the value of this service mesh offering? Well, you have a consistent observability, control, and security across any cloud, on-prem or public. You have a centralized visibility, and where remediation is very important. So you can exactly see where the problems are. You can see some statistics. You can look at the global policies for users and services. And ultimately, you increase your centralized security posture with complete audit trails to address your compliance issues. So let's take a look. So here's an example. Tanzu Service Mesh is a SaaS offering that installs different components into your Kubernetes clusters on-prem or in public clouds. Would that be vSphere environments or any of the public offerings that we have? So what do we have? Here we have an application that spans two clusters. One is on the Amazon EKS, and the other one is on the Tanzu Service Mesh 1 cluster. The app is a distributed app that has a different components, shopping. We have some load generation that generates some load every now and then. We have a cart, shopping cart, microservice that talks to Redis, data store, ordering that talks to Mongo, and some payment systems, users that talk to the user database, that's Mongo, a catalog that's talking to catalog Mongo, and so on and so on. We can take a deeper look inside and look at so everything revolves around defining namespaces, global namespaces. We have two, so that's my enterprise end-to-end demo namespace. I can look at the performance and different latencies. I can look at number of services that I have in my global namespaces. I can look at my service instances. So these are different pods that run on different nodes across my clusters. Some of them are on Amazon. Some of them are, actually, it seems that all of them are running on Amazon on different clusters, but it could be on-prem as well. We can look at the different infrastructure, what are different nodes that they run on, and so on and so on. Okay, that was easy. What does your path to production look like? Let's have a bit of discussion in the section after this in our question and answer section. But before we go, how do you learn more about what Tanzu can do for you? Well, get in touch with us. Visit our homepage at tanzu.vmware.com. Start learning today at the Tanzu Developer Center with getting started guides, code samples, workshops, great videos and demos of modern apps development in action. Start reading about the customer case studies at the Paving the Road to Modern Apps. Talk to your local VMware and Tanzu representative about booking a similar deep dive and Tanzu workshop where we get into the details of the specific Tanzu products. And finally, come visit us in September. There is an online free event conference, multi-day conference, where lots of our customers speak about Tanzu and how Tanzu helped them in their business. Thank you.
Takk, Neven. Som vi ser, så kravene til applikasjoner har jo endret seg betraktelig for en stund tilbake. Så nå skal applikasjoner, de skal være enklere, de skal være mer effektive, de skal være mer konsistente, de skal være raskere, de skal ikke gå på bekostning av sikkerhet, veldig mye hensyn å ta. I tillegg så synes jeg det litt interessant å se i dette bildet som Neven tegner her, hvordan Kubernetes som sådan bare en del av et veldig, veldig mye større bilde for å kunne realisere de gevinstene og de store gevinstene man på jakt etter med å få en raskere vei fra kode til produksjon. Så med det går vi over til den siste delen, som vår paneldebatt og svar på spørsmål.
Ja,
takk skal du ha,
for...
Eirik. Da vi over I paneldebatten, og I den sammenheng så har jeg også lyst til å introdusere Stein Wilhelmsen. Stein, har du lyst til å si noen ord om deg selv, og også hvilken relevans du ser at Tanzu har for våre kunder sett fra ditt perspektiv?
Ja, takk for at jeg skal være med I paneldebatten. Jeg leder den nordiske organisasjonen av pre-sales, og det vi ser I både Norge og Norden at vi har en økende interesse, ganske stor økning I interessen for denne type plattformer. Og en del av spørsmålene jo, hvordan kan vi bygge en bro mellom drift, operations og inn mot utviklermiljøet, slik at vi ikke forstyrrer utviklerne I den brukeropplevelsen de gjerne vil ha med å kommandolinje og kjøre alt ut sånn som vanlig, og likevel ha kontroll og innsikt inn mot plattformen fra operations eller driftssiden. Og vi ser det både I offentlig sektor og helse, og også store enterprise-selskaper, som gjerne vil raskere på denne reisen mot moderne applikasjoner. Og det som ganske unikt med vår portefølje I dag, det jo at vi kan hjelpe de å gi innsikt og kontroll helt ifra hardwaren og oppover til applikasjonslaget. For det veldig ofte at det masse forskjellige verktøy som skal brukes for å monitorere og kontrollere dette her, og også sørge for compliance eller etterlevelse, som det heter på norsk. Men her vi helt unike som klarer å tilby det vi kaller for en sikkerhet som en del av hele policyen. Intrinsic security gjør at vi kan nettopp ha mer kontroll og sikkerhet fra endepunktene og helt inn til datasenteret. Videre så har vi fått inn et par spørsmål. Vi klar for det, Eirik og Steffen?
Ja, da kjør på.
Vi skal prøve.
Ja, gjør vi på. Noen lurer på, kan dere forklare hva Tanzu Basic, standard og advanced og hva forskjellene?
Ja da, så vi har sett en gjennomgang av Neven nå som viser litt forskjellige produkter for hvordan du skal bygge kode. Du vil kanskje ha en applikasjonskatalog og en build service for å hjelpe deg med CI/CD, og du vil ha et kjøremiljø basert på Kubernetes og kanskje en managementplattform og så videre. Så det en del forskjellige enkeltstående produkter for å nettopp effektivisere denne veien fra kode til produksjon. Derfor så har vi lansert ulike versjoner av vår Tanzu-portefølje og pakketert disse. Og det da disse basic, standard og advanced pakketeringene per dags dato. Så basic og standard har veldig fokus på hvordan du ønsker å få Kubernetes opp og kjøre I ditt miljø, mens advanced lener seg mer over på hvordan du også kan bistå med build-fasen, hvor du mer moden for å ta I bruk andre typer verktøy på den siden. Så for å starte med basic, så det for deg som sluttkunde som har et vSphere-miljø I dag, du ønsker å komme I gang så fort som mulig med Kubernetes på din vSphere-plattform. Mens ser du også på muligheten for å deploye Kubernetes I sky, så vil Tanzu standard være en bedre pakketering, for den gir deg også muligheten for å deploye vår Kubernetes-distribusjon hos andre skyleverandører. Der vil også I tillegg være en management-bit, som vil ligge som et globalt kontrollplan og sørge for at du har oversikten både av den Kubernetes-distribusjonen du måtte ha on-prem, men også ut I sky. Og som sagt, så Tanzu standard vil jo være for deg som mye mer moden I din utviklingsportefølje, som ønsker å få hjelp til å realisere denne veien raskere fra kode til produksjon. Så den vil inneholde denne applikasjonskatalogen, denne build-servicen, det vil inngå en service-mesh-komponent og så videre.
Akkurat. Neste spørsmål en del har jo fokusert på vSphere med Tanzu, så hva vSphere med Tanzu, og hva de største fordelene dere hører når dere snakker med kunder som bruker dette I dag?
Ja, så vSphere med Tanzu det vi lanserte som en løsning for hvordan vi baker Kubernetes inn I ditt vSphere-miljø. Så har du et vSphere-miljø I dag, så vil du kunne etablere et Kubernetes-miljø basert på det clusteret du måtte ha. veldig raskt oppe å kjøre. Og de største fordelene vi ser med det, jo at VMware-administratoren, eller altså infrastrukturgjengen, vil ha fortsatt veldig god kontroll. De trenger ikke måtte lære seg masse nye Kubernetes-spesifikke ting for å håndtere dette. Og i tillegg så vil det også være appellerende for DevOps og plattformteamet, fordi de vil nå ha en self-service-plattform som de bare kan etterspørre nye Kubernetes-clustere uten å måtte belage seg på å involvere infrastrukturteamet som sådan. Og når vi ser også at vi samler dette på en og samme plattform, så unngår vi jo disse infrastruktursiloene, hvor du kanskje har en hardware-plattform som ment for utvikling Kubernetes som sådan, og så har du en som for VMware og de tradisjonelle applikasjonene. Så det store gevinster å kunne samle dette og kjøre containere og VMware side om side på en og samme plattform.
Akkurat. Skal vi se, neste spørsmål dreier seg jo litt om hvordan vi kommer i gang med dette. Så Steffen, kanskje du kan svare på, hva skal til for å komme i gang med Kubernetes på vSphere 7?
Det skal jeg gjøre. Og det jo egentlig det som veldig gøy med denne løsningen. Og det jo det at det så enkelt å komme i gang. Og som Eirik nevnte, fra et driftsståsted så dette veldig kjent. Og det virker veldig kjent, selv om det på sett og vis en veldig ny teknologi. Og samtidig, fra en utvikler, så vil også de kjenne seg igjen i en vanlig Kubernetes-verden. Så man har på en måte fått to sider til å møtes. Men når det gjelder å komme opp og gå, så det jo selvfølgelig en feature i vSphere 7. Så du må ha et cluster som på det nivået, og du må ha et V-senter som selvfølgelig det også. Og så det faktisk bare noen klikk unna å deploye dette her. Du får da full kontroll over dine namespace i V-senter, og du kan sette quotas, begrensninger, ressursallokeringer på samme måte som man kjenner fra ressursgrupper i V-senter. Man gir der også tilgang til utviklerteamene og logger seg på Kubernetes API-et. Og man tar også og strukturerer hvilken type storage og hvilke egenskaper man skal ha av storage for containerne sine. Det også sånn at tidligere så var det et krav om å ha NSX, det det ikke lenger. Så man kan deploye Kubernetes på vSphere 7 uten behov for NSX. Vi mener jo fortsatt at det mange grunner til å gjøre det på NSX, spesielt dette med full kontroll på kommunikasjon og sikkerhet på tvers av container og VMer. Men skal man komme lett i gang, man ikke har NSX fra før, så kan fortsatt HA-proxy da benyttes som en ingress- og egress-kontroller. Så det veldig lett å komme i gang. Drift vil kjenne seg igjen, og utvikleren vil også få dekket sine behov.
Takk. Det som gode tilbakemeldinger på sesjonen, og vi har jo litt forskjellige versjoner av Tanzu som Eirik forklarte. Det jo litt forskjellige plattformer der ute og sånne ting, men et av spørsmålene dere har så mange forskjellige veier til Kubernetes. Hva skal vi velge?
Ja, og det spørsmålet, eller den kommentaren, den hører jeg ofte. Og jeg forstår at det kan være litt forvirring. Det har vi også sett internt. Skal vi gå i detalj rundt dette her, så må vi nok ha et møte for å virkelig gå i dybden, men for å ta det litt sånn overordnet, så har vi egentlig 3 ulike veier til rom. Først så det jo sånn at alle disse 3 baserer seg på upstream Kubernetes, så fra et utviklerperspektiv så vil dette være kjent, uansett hvem man velger, og det vil også være samme lisens. Og det betyr at man kan godt starte med en ting og føle at det riktig i dag, og så kan man velge å skifte over til en av de andre løsningene senere, hvis enten organisasjonen har modnet seg, eller man ser at man har andre behov. Så hvis vi da ser på disse 3 hovedvalgene, så kan jeg jo da starte med at hvis man på en måte ser at først og fremst hvis man trenger .NET-support eller kunne kjøre Windows-containere og ønsker en løsning som virkelig har vært der en god stund nå og som bunnsolid, så det TKGI eller det som het PKS tidligere, som førstevalget. Hvis man derimot på en annen side ser at man har mulighet til å oppgradere miljøet sitt til vSphere 7 eller deler av miljøet til vSphere 7, man har et litt sånn eller infrastrukturfokus på dette med å tilby containere. Man har kanskje ikke noe stor egen utviklingsavdeling og ønsker å ha god kontroll på containere fra dag 1. Så denne integrerte pod i vSphere en veldig god løsning. Og så har vi kanskje den løsningen som egner seg best, der hvor man har en stor utviklerskare, ønsker å på en måte virkelig gå DevOps-veien, ønsker å gi utviklerne self-service eller Kubernetes as a service, og med full valgfrihet i forhold til hvilken versjon de kjører til enhver tid, også kan oppgradere og skalere dette selv, så jo da TKG det beste alternativet. Og så det jo sånn at disse tingene kan også kombineres, og TKG jo en innebygget feature i vSphere 7. Det vil si, når man starter med vSphere 7 og disse native-podene eller vSphere-podene, så det også fra det samme kontrollplanet mulighet til å livssyklushåndtere, bestille og terminere disse TKG-clusterne.
Akkurat. Altså her nok valgmuligheter til å komme i gang uansett hva utgangspunktet egentlig Så da det bare ett spørsmål igjen, og det da vi låst til VMware om vi går for disse løsningene?
Nei, det vil jeg på ingen måte si. Så vi har jo sett, det dukker jo iblant opp det spørsmålet der rundt dette, for eksempel dette kjøremiljøet. Altså hvis vi tar i bruk verktøy fra VMware på, la oss si at vi tar i bruk denne applikasjonskatalogen og andre CCD-verktøy som vi skal supportere for dere, så må vi da bruke for eksempel TKG som denne Kubernetes-distribusjon, og det jo svaret nei, vi jo på ingen måte låst til at det må være vi som leverer TKG som en Kubernetes-distribusjon for dere. Det kan dere bruke den dere måtte ha i dag, eller en annen leverandør som sådan. Så fokuset vårt å være åpen som sådan.
Akkurat.
Jeg kan jo også legge til der at sett fra et utviklerperspektiv da, så jo det at alle våre på en måte Kubernetes-varianter, det at de baserer seg på native upstream Kubernetes gjør jo at alle deployment-rutiner, mekanismer, skript og verktøy vil kunne gjenbrukes uavhengig av om man i dag bruker en av våre Kubernetes-plattformer, eller om man ønsker å deploye halvparten av applikasjonen sin i sky, eller om man ønsker å flytte den på et tidspunkt, og så videre. Så det at vi ikke har noe proprietært på den siden jo en av de store mulighetene, og også det som muliggjør valgfrihet. Vi ser jo også det at i en DevOps eller en CICD-verden, så det jo et hav av ulike løsninger. Mange kunder har allerede kanskje et containerregister, kanskje de har CI-verktøy, og så videre, og våre løsninger vil bare i så måte bare kunne komplementere det dere allerede har, og man kan egentlig velge å ta i bruk de løsningene man ser man har behov for eller liker. Så her man ikke låst på noe som helst måte, og vi har vel sånn i det store og hele så har vi svært få kunder som på en måte har tatt ende til ende fra oss. Det vil alltid være noe tredjepart, spesielt inni denne bildverden.
Akkurat. Ja. Da skulle det være nok av fleksibilitet og valgmuligheter til å komme i gang uansett hva man velger. Så det var de spørsmålene vi hadde fått inn, så da overlater vi til dere.
Ja, så da håper vi at dere har hatt en nyttig sesjon sammen med oss i dag. Det noe dere skulle lure på, eller dere ser at dere har et behov for et dypere dykk inn i noe av det vi har gått igjennom her i dag, eller andre ting for den saks skyld, så det bare å ta kontakt, så tar vi et møte sammen med dere. Og ellers så det vel bare igjen å si tusen takk, og ha en fin dag videre alle sammen.